Talkin' Pop Podcast, episode 43. What most people don't know is we've got like a group text chain that we are constantly discussing things in, and every week we kind of hit each other up and we're like, what are we going to talk about this week? And look no further than Brad hitting us up over the weekend to share his thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2. And this, you know what? I was like, let's have a conversation about the state of Disney, because Kelly has been voicing her displeasure with She-Hulk in said group chat. But then also during the week, we get an epic video from Ryan Reynolds announcing the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, which is unbelievable. And then we get an epic new trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever just this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get the negative out of the way first, and then we'll dive into positive. Brad, I'm going to open up the floor to you. Please regale Kelly and I with your thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2.
Okay, well, let me just start off here, because there's a running joke, and I feel like it's becoming less of a thing that I'm Mr. Positivity on these things and just trying to find the bright side.
No,
and
it's
everything.
not. No,
It's getting to the point where, like, I don't know if maybe I took some notes, and now I'm just like. Now I'm just being like, hey, this sucked. But no, I'm not, guys, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not happy. I feel like I don't do this that often, where I come on here and I'm like actually ticked off. I'm pretty ticked off about this movie. I gotta be honest with you. And the whole thing for me with this movie was, listen, nobody, and I mean nobody, including me, was going into this thinking that this was going to be some sort of like Shakespearean or
Okay.
or like Maverick 2 or Top Gun 2 Maverick. You know what I mean? Like nobody.
That was going to be my first question. Was like, what were you expecting, Brad?
Well, no, but see, this is my thing. Anybody that loved the original and like grew up watching the original
is a beloved film.
It's beloved. But listen, the thing about that original movie was that it was panned by the critics at the time, and really became a cult classic over time. The Disney kid generation, whatever, the movie got released. But anybody that saw it at the time, kids especially, certain parents, loved it because it was funny. And it was one of those classic Disney films that did the, we're gonna give the kids something to laugh at, and we're also gonna give the parents something to laugh at, right? And one of the big things was, like, Kenny Ortega directed it. It was a studio film. Like, it was a theater release. And not only that, you had guys like Gary and Penny Marshall in it. You had the obvious trio that is back with Kathy and Jimmy, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Bette Midler. They're back. So, like, you know what I mean? This movie had a lot going for it at the time, and it just kind of kept growing over the years. So you would think the fact that this was such a beloved movie, and now you've had decades of people loving it, that they were gonna, even though this was gonna be a straight to Disney Plus film, there was gonna be a level of like care taken with it, because you thought, at least I thought, again, not expecting Shakespeare, just within the same vein of what the original was, which was just like a fun Halloween movie. At the end of the day, with like a really fun cast and everything else. I don't know what the hell they thought they were doing with this one. Other than the fact that this was, to me, reminded me of one of those Disney Channel movies that they did in the mid-aughts. Like, it screamed that to me from the get. And it was like, oh no. And hold on, I forgot to do something before I even started. Just so the listeners know, that this isn't some sort of put on for the podcast. I was highly excited for this. I was highly excited for this movie.
Wait, Kel, what was it? Wait, hold on.
Let me say something. For
the folks listening on audio, what do we got here?
We got a box of Kellogg's Disney Hocus Pocus 2 cereal. Can I add something else? It's not that good! It's not that good! I got another Halloween box of cereal because I saw this and I was like, oh, that's fun. I got the other one. It was much better. This one's not that good. Okay?
Well, you
and this was the prelude to the movie.
As I was going to say, after trying the cereal, you should have known what you were in for.
Yeah, it's called, we whipped this out last second because we thought, hey, it's a good promotional tool. It'll work. I bought a box. I'm going to finish it. I'm just going to let you know now. I will finish it.
It sounds pretty full.
I will finish it, but it's not the best. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal, kids. Disney Channel-esque movie, number one. And to which I was kind of going, oh boy, like right away. They clearly put money into the sets. And also, let me say this. I'll give you a little positive, because now I just went on a negative rant. I'll give you a positive. Sarah Jessica Parker, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, excellent. Excellent. They brought it back. They brought it right back. It was like it was 1993 again. They were excellent. It was obvious that there's like a level of improv going on, and they're just kind of riffing off each other. Excellent. Excellent. They were great. Whoever the set designers were, excellent job. Costumes, makeup, all that. Excellent job. Whoever wrote this thing, yikes. Yikes. Again. Disney Channel.
Here's Brad's Rotten Tomatoes quote. Whoever wrote this thing, yikes.
Yikes. And again, I want to be clear. No one thought that this was going to be Shakespeare. We just thought like, hey, this is just going to be like, we're going to riff off the old one. Maybe there's going to be some similar jokes, which they did and dialed up to 11, my favorite expression. My God. But the main thing that really honestly is the reason why I'm as mad as I am is this was clearly a vehicle for them to start some new series with the young cast that was in this thing. It was so obvious from the get-go to the point where the original 3 women that were in this movie that made it what it was were background characters for these other 2. And it was like, or 3 or 4 with this new young teen cast that they had in there. And it was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is clear. You're just using a classic film to launch this new thing. Like, mark my words. Next Halloween, 2023, there will be another movie coming out on Disney Plus, and it will be starring the new teen cast and the actress
Hocus Pocus 3, the new era,
yeah,
the new
like,
generation.
New age.
Yes.
The new age.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But like they kind of like, they did that with the most recent Ghostbusters too. Like this is not,
but it was like,
this is
but
not
exactly.
a new trend.
Yeah, exactly. And did that rub anybody the right way?
No.
Not really. And so that's my point. But at least Ghostbusters, the new one, had the at least thought process of bringing in the original cast, the original director's son, who's an excellent director in his own right, to come in and do it. I don't know about what exactly went on, but I'm pretty sure Kenny Ortega's not doing anything right now. He can come in and direct. Why couldn't they bring him back in? And honestly, it makes me think he didn't want to because the script was no bueno. Like, it was not good. And it was just like, what is this? What is this? And so for me, at the end of the day, like, again, the original cast that came back, like, it was just missing the charm. At the end of the day, it was missing all of the charm that the original had until you got scenes alone with just the 3 of them, the 3 original cast members, including the actor whose name is escaping me right now, who played Billy, the zombie. He was back, but again, it was just like everything was just kind of like, let's just dial up everything we did in the original one, and then just kind of scrap any sort of, little bit of edginess it had, that charm of the 90s, that charm of like, you know, again, it had like a theater release feel still. This was mid-aughts Disney Channel movie. We're just going to dial up the teen strife and like all the annoying little like, oh, I didn't get invited to the party. You made fun of me. What am I watching? What am I watching?
But okay.
How did you take an original? This cereal sucks. Okay. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. But still, it's just kind of like, give me a break. What was this? And again, to me, this is just kind of in line with some of the other complaints we've had recently about other projects, where it's like, it's not that hard. Just follow the original blueprint that you had. Mess it around a little bit, play with it a little bit. Nobody's asking for a repeat, but just like...
But I think the reluctancy, so you highlighted that, you know, there's an emphasis on the younger cast, and it's clearly the decision is made there because they're like, because of what you said earlier. It's like, we need to keep pumping these out for our streaming service. So if we can get like a Hocus Pocus series with this new cast and like
that's
a couple weekly
100%
episodes.
what they did.
Yes.
Well,
so creatively, that's not a terrible idea. Like when you're sitting around in a boardroom coming up with like, okay, what are we going to do? What do we want to put on the streaming service? Oh, people love the original Hocus Pocus. Let's build a Hocus Pocus universe.
Sure.
But the problem is, and we're going to talk about this, we're going to let Kelly go in a few minutes on She-Hulk. When it's not executed well.
No, exactly.
Yes.
That's my point at the end of the day. And I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to let you guys talk too, because I've been ranting. But my thing is just exactly that. It's not that they wanted to do another series afterward, and like, you know, maybe that's a commitment that Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy and Jimmy didn't want to make, and that's fine. Like, if you want to spin it off and do all that, but like, don't make it the entire focus of the film, that to the point where it's like, can we get back to like quality storytelling? Because again, for anybody that watched this, there was just so much like filler jokes and things that just didn't help the story go anywhere. The mayor of the town was obsessed with a candy apple person that was coming to town, and they circled back to the joke 4 times, and it wasn't funny. And I was like, what is this?
He's obsessed with that candy apple person.
Oh my god.
But Brad, you actually make like an interesting point, and I feel like this will segue into like some of the other conversations we want to have on this episode.
Yeah, I need a drink.
You keep calling this a Disney Channel movie. But is that not what it is? The Disney
I think
Channel,
so at this point.
You know what I mean? Like the Disney Channel no longer exists. It's Disney Plus. And like, if I think back to the old model of like the Disney Channel, like it would not have been out of the realm of possibility that there was a Even Stevens movie that was like a bit bigger, and then they did Even Stevens 2 on the Disney Channel that sucked. The first one probably wasn't very good either, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I actually
lack
think
of care. It's a lack of care.
No, it's not even that. It's that I mean, there's that for sure, but it's also that this is there is within this streaming service like levels of quality that's being delivered at the same of the Sweet Life and Zach and Cody. And That's So Raven. That is what we're getting. And I think what's hard to distinguish, though, is because it's all on the same platform as the quality content that we're hoping to get.
Right.
And so it's like your expectations probably would have been far different if we still had the Disney Channel and it was like Hocus Pocus 2's on the Disney Channel. Tune in at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Like, you probably would have been like, oh, they're probably going to make a joke.
That would have been a red
apple man.
Yeah, that would have been a red flag.
But yeah, so it is really interesting to me because I actually think you're onto something when you call it a Disney Channel movie, because that is that's like maybe some of the staff from that
era
world and who created that content have come over to Disney Plus, and unfortunately they're getting their hands on some things that people like you, Brad, who hold very, very close to your heart.
But it's like
and your cereal box.
I'm not gonna keep like beating the same drum, but it's the same thing as like these live action remakes that we're doing. Do you realize that these are the most like I'm not necessarily putting Hocus Pocus in the same level as like Pinocchio or Lion King or something like that, obviously, but it's still a beloved movie for a lot of people. Maybe not to the same degree as Lion King or some of these movies, but it's like
they're soulless.
When is it gonna click with the studio that people love those movies so much that you're basically doing an unwinnable task? You're trying to accomplish an unbelievable feat to make the new version of a beloved movie better. And if that isn't your end goal, or if that isn't your bar to make it like better or whatever, what are you doing? Like, then don't touch it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Come up with
but
again,
money,
Disney has billions of dollars. Yeah, but Disney has billions of dollars.
And
it's never enough. It's never enough.
But like, what happened to the Disney Imagineers? Like, get pumped some more money into that and get some original freaking ideas.
Yeah, you see, I don't know, man. You see, I could go on. I've ranted about this a couple times, so I won't get into it. I want to transition to She-Hulk, but like, it's the same conversation we've been having about Warner Brothers, which is like, you've got suits in a boardroom making these decisions, and then you've got suits in a boardroom who are approving, like, you hire creative people to do creative things, but then the suits who aren't creative have to approve the creative people's work. And like, you see that in business all over the world. And it's probably no different from what's happening with Disney. And like, to transition, one of the things you touched on earlier, Kelly, is all the content on Disney Plus. And it's hard to delineate like what's like high quality and what isn't. And like, the Marvel shows, whether you like them or not, are of a certain sort of standard, and not everything is going to be like that. And yeah, it's just that's what makes Disney Plus kind of confounding. Like, even Andor, like, we've all watched the first few episodes of Andor. Like, that's a great show, and it's like super high quality, and it's like, wow, like, this is really, really good.
Overall,
so, like,
Star Wars has delivered on Disney Plus. Like,
that's their best thing.
Ebbs and flows, but overall, pretty good.
So, Kelly, talk about She-Hulk, because this has been a show that, you know, we've talked a lot about the Marvel Disney Plus shows in our 43 episodes, and I think the consensus is some of them are like, they're all like fine. Mm-hmm. Some of them you like more than others. Like, there hasn't really been one that I can remember that's been like outright terrible, where you're just like, okay, this is no good. And now She-Hulk has come along and has sort of taken that distinction.
Yeah. And like, I want to be very clear, because, you know, you go on the internet and it's like, this show's being review bombed and whatever. Like, to not even be a troll, like, I am genuinely so disappointed by this show for like a myriad of reasons. One being that, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, so I won't beat a dead horse, but like, it's too silly. Like, it's just, and I get that they're trying to create some content for a younger demo and a little bit for an older demo, and like, I get that, but you're still selling us on this model where we have to tune in to know what connects to what, and you know, and we all know that Daredevil's coming. Daredevil's one of my favorite characters, so now I need to watch the show to see. So it's like, if you're going to kind of force me into this, you need to give me, the viewer, something to connect with, even if the show overall is aiming at a different demo. Kind of like you were saying with the original Hocus Pocus. It's like, it can be for kids, but there's got to be something for adults and whatever. But what I find most disappointing about this show, and I'm not a big She-Hulk stan. Like, I don't read the She-Hulk comics. I'm not, but it's like, the show clearly is trying to channel like a little bit of Ally McBeal, and they've said as much, which I can see the influence of that, but it's like, is this seriously, like, I think they're 5 or 6 episodes in. You have to fact check me on that, but I'm caught up on the season.
I'm pretty sure.
And it's like
7 episodes.
7. Okay, so 7. It's even worse in my opinion, because so far we've watched Jennifer Walters go on dates, and she's, recently she just went shopping for a new outfit, and she's, she got ghosted by a guy recently, and I'm just like, is this what we're doing with a female-led show on Disney Plus? And
why are they doing this? Why are they making these creative decisions? That's what keeps going through my head when I watch it. It's like, we have, all three of us have praised Kevin Feige up the wazoo
for like over a decade.
Yes. So why? That's literally why. That's all that goes through my head when I watch She-Hulk, is why.
I feel like at this point, it's almost just like they're trying to be different for the sake of being different. Do you know what I mean? It's like every single show has to have its own vibe. Like, that's genre, very distinct from everything else. And it's like, why though?
I'm just finding it hard. I'm finding it really hard. This show in particular is like really baffling to me. And I'm actually I'm trying very hard, as you guys can tell. I can get a little like heated and sassy about things. I'm trying very hard to be objective about this.
To keep a hard professional line, like, unlike what I did. Yeah.
No, but it's like, the most recent episode literally was her going to Abomination's wellness retreat and like, having a bunch of like, supers coach her through feeling better about being ghosted by a guy that she slept with. Like, what? What is this show? And like, this is where we're gonna introduce Daredevil, one of the most I'm very confused, and I just watch it, and it's like, in this recent episode they have like a character named Porcupine, and like and it's so goofy, and it's like, how is this the same universe where Thor came in and chopped Thanos' head off? Like, how are we in the same? I can respect that at this point in the MCU, they're receiving a bit of criticism that that the Marvel formula's played out. So I can respect that they're trying different things. But, what we were saying
don't deviate from what made you so great.
But also, it feels so soulless. Like, I could get on board with them doing something weird and out of the box if it felt like there was like a real purpose behind it. But I'm sorry, you had an episode with Megan Thee Stallion, and you ended it with like the two of them twerking together. Like, what am I watching? It is so goofy, and it's just it's a part of this whole, like, we're using She-Hulk as the example because that's what we're tuning into right now, but it's just
Well, and Brad talked about it with Hocus Pocus and dialing the humor up to 11. We've talked about Thor Love and Thunder and just out of control with the jokes, like out of control.
Yeah, it's just.
But if you look, like, I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and I'm a huge fan of just comedy, period. And the thing that is the most interesting to me, it's kind of like what we said about like the writing. And again, I don't even necessarily blame the writers, because I don't know what they're being told to do. At the end of the day, they're on staff most likely, and they're being told like, we need more of this or we need more of that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not the way comedy works. Is there needs to be, a story. There needs to be like a build up to the punchline. There needs to be all these things. If it's just punchline, it's not funny. You need to have, there needs to be moments of, and nobody's saying like we need fucking Zack Snyder doom and gloom at all times. I'm talking about, I like comedy and stuff like that. Like Star Wars was always, there always was like a level of humor in it. And that is what made, the darker moments land. And the darker moments made the comedic moments land. Do you see where I'm going with this?
But
and
also
so it's like, if it's just like
a real conversation, a real conversation does not flow the way that they're writing it right now. And it's like, so it just kind of takes you out of it. And sorry, I am going to jump back for a second when I was talking about that she, went shopping for a new outfit and dating. Oh, and then there also was a storyline where the villain is selling a makeup line and she's using the She-Hulk name to sell her makeup line. And it's like, what?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Like, is this woman not supposed to be as strong and capable as Bruce Banner? And like, and beyond, actually? Like, and we're reducing her to dating apps and makeup lines and even the fact we should even, at the very least, like, she's a lawyer. We haven't spent any time looking at what an intellect this woman has. No. We're too big. She literally in the episode about the makeup, in the episode about the makeup line, the through thread is she didn't realize that she should trademark her own name. And it's like, so a woman who's worked in the law profession for that long, like, doesn't, oops, oh my God, but I remember, like, it's just, like, it's so, like, I'm
True.
just, and I feel, and it's like, Tatiana Maslany is a great actress.
I think
she's a tremendous actress and has, like, and I don't understand what is going on right now. Like,
again, and not to make a pun here, but like, what's the end game? What's the end game of all of this?
No,
right?
I don't.
And so, but actually, like, in all seriousness, what is the end game of this? Because to me, this adds nothing to the big picture. Because I bet you right now, just like a lot of the other shows and a lot of the other characters that have been introduced within shows, like, I'm trying to, it doesn't even matter. Some of the newer characters that have all been introduced within all the different shows that we've had so far for the MCU, the thing that has kept running through my mind, very much like Tatiana Maslany, the first thing I thought was, she's great. I bet she'll be better in a movie when she comes in as her character within the MCU team up of some description.
Will she though, Brad?
I bet you she will.
Me worried.
I bet you she will.
Has me worried. Here's my take on the matter. Okay, you see this Wakanda Forever trailer that drops today. Mm-hmm. And when you're done watching it, you're just like fist pumping. You're like, oh my God, this looks amazing. This is the Marvel that we all know and love. Like, this is so good.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to one of these two Avengers movies in a couple years, and we're in the middle of fighting Kang the Conqueror, and She-Hulk jumps in with a one-liner in the middle of...
Looking at the camera with her fourth
looking at the camera, which
I know is a part of the character, but...
Like, and so I think,
it, but
here's what I think. It's very clear when you watch these movie trailers that, for the most part, they're sticking to what they've always done cinematically. Like, sure, yes, Love and Thunder was a bit over the top, but that was like Taika Waititi. Like, he was trying to build off what he did with Ragnarok, and it just got to be a little too much. But it still felt like a Thor story and a Thor movie. You watch the Wakanda Forever trailer, and you're like, oh my God, this looks awesome. Mm-hmm. So cinematically, I'm not concerned. Disney Plus series, ooh, like I'm really,
and it's a shame.
I don't know.
A shame,
and they have,
I think
they haven't all been bad. It's just this one, like, I don't want this character anywhere near my favorite Marvel character. I don't want her anywhere near. Like, you can throw Moon Knight in there. Moon Knight, if you want to drop Moon Knight in beside Doctor Strange, go for it. Like, if you want to do, like, I'm totally fine with that. Like, you know what's a good sort of contrast that I was thinking about earlier today? Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel was a show that was not overtly serious and was not overtly dark, but it worked. Like, it was enjoyable.
Do you know why? And I truly think that this is starting to become a little bit more apparent, and I know this is something we're going to talk about a little later, so I'm not going to bury the lead here. But I truly think that there is a level of pushback that is starting to happen with directors and being involved in this MCU world that they've created over at Disney, where, yes, there's certain things where they're kind of like, listen, you need to hit these beats because this connects to other things down the road. So we need these things in here, blah, blah, blah. No argument here. Literally zero. I get all that. I think it's smart. I mean, they've been smart from the get-go with all that. That's why they're crushing DC and Warner Brothers. But the thing to me was there's become, like Kelly said earlier, there was a level of like uniformity that was starting to happen where it was kind of like, all right, like this is becoming a little too beat to beat. But now it's kind of like we're allowing certain directors to go a direction that is a little off, but while without allowing them to fully go out and do what they need to do. Again, very much like a Suits conversation here, right? So it becomes more of like a clashing of things, and then you get this kind of mess at the end. I'm finding, as far as like final products, it's like I can see on the TV or I can see on screen where it's like the visionary, or the vision of the director is bumping up against this brick wall of somebody saying like, okay, well, you want to do X, we'll give you Y, which is like almost X, but not really. So you know what I'm saying? Like it becomes like this like muddled version of what they originally wanted to do, and it's like, just like
technically, if we're saying that She-Hulk is like an Ally McBeal sort of spin, I should technically be the target audience for this show. Like, forget that I know about Marvel and all that stuff, but like as a, early 30s woman, like professional woman, this should be a show for me. But what my stance is if I want to watch a show like this, I'm going to go watch Emily in Paris. I'm not coming to Marvel to get my rom-com fix. And so it's like, I don't mind them taking cues stylistically from things to make it feel a little different, inspiration, whatever that, like, but I don't, whatever this experiment is, like, really is not landing for me. I find it reductive. I find it borderline offensive that this intelligent woman and this character that little girls should be looking up to and dressing up as for Halloween is being like, it's mind-boggling to me that this is what they've chosen to do, and I'm just seeing this pattern too much throughout what they've created post Endgame. Not all of it.
It's weird that you're right. It's weird, and Feige talked about this forever, like ahead of the Disney Plus launch and show releases, that we were going to explore a bunch of different genres, and I think in some cases it worked. In some cases, it really hasn't. I think we've crapped on them for about 35 minutes.
Listen, and I always say this when we end up dumping on somebody or something or some studio for a long time. We do this because we care. Again, if we didn't care, we just wouldn't talk about it. And we've made jokes about that on here before, where it's like, if there hasn't been a review of a particular movie that didn't look like it was going to be very good, It's because we don't care. Like we don't want to review. We don't want to give it our time. But something like this to me is just kind of like, I feel like there's so many ingredients there for them to do awesome things with. And whatever it is that's going on right now, they gotta, as fans, the three of us, we're looking at this from like a constructive standpoint and going like, okay, maybe you guys should try something else instead of, just listening to the bots on Instagram that are like, this was awesome, it's like, those aren't real.
Let's jump into some of additional Marvel news that we got this week, and we have to hit on it. Like I said, I just tried to move us over to the positive, but we do have to touch on one more negative detail here really quickly, and that was with production set to start later this month. The Blade director Bassam Tariq, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, is out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's out. And production has been delayed, and they're bringing in Moon Knight writer Beau DeMayo to rewrite the entire script.
Like, what is up with that?
I don't know. Listen, Marvel, Brad, you touched on it earlier. Directors quitting Marvel movies is not uncommon. We see it all the time because
that was my point before. Yeah,
Marvel has a sandbox that you have to play in, and if you don't want to play in it, you're out.
Yeah.
And I think this is what concerns me the most about this, and again, I'm not there, there's speculation, I don't know, but like, just my concern is we've been talking a lot about sort of this streak of like silliness and comedy and whatever.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm very concerned about, again, like, this is life and death stuff, but for the podcast it is.
In our world right now, it is.
In our world right now, this is very important stuff. Blade is such a dark character, and it's like, I wonder if that's playing into this, where it's like, if you're a director, like, you're taking in so much of the source material and you're like starting to like live and breathe in that world, but then how does that marry with like like,
but the timing, there has to be different factors at play here. Like, they're about to start principal photography in a couple of weeks, or we're about to start in a couple of weeks. Script's been locked and loaded.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. So he's out. It's him dipping so late in the game, and now they're rewriting the script. There's like these two things. Yeah. There's these two factors here.
It's not
that
like he just
really
left and they're just picking it up where
he's
yeah,
no, that's true.
He's leaving and they're rewriting the whole thing.
From scratch.
Imagine casting a 2-time Oscar-winning actor in Mahershala
who's probably
Ali.
got himself. I'm sure Mahershala Ali is the type of guy who takes good care of himself all the time, regardless. But like, going into the movies, probably got himself just
chiseled,
just shredded in Blade shape. There's going to be some sort of shirtless scene where he's like tending to a wound or something, and the guy's got like washboard, whatever. And it's like, oh no, we're rewriting the script.
But that's
so
more than
in
being,
a year.
Listen, being in shape, you gotta maintain it. But from the standpoint of like, you have now based character choices based on not only knowing the character and all these types of things, but also the script. Certain scenes, certain things that you were probably geared up to like, experience that scene and having the scene playing out in your head for months because you've got this whole thing in your head and that's why you wanted to do it. You called the studio and said, I want in a 2-time Academy Award winner in Mahershala Ali, and your director quits and you're rewriting the entire script? Come on, Disney. Like, come on. I'm sorry. And I never tee off on stuff like this because I just try to keep like a little bit more of like a, maybe they know what they're doing. Come on. This is called, we are spreading ourselves too thin and we don't know, and we're trying to do too many things. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. And the fact that the director has quit again, another director has quit again, and I'm sure that this director was also kind of pre-approved based on the fact that Mahershala Ali went to the studio and said, I want to do this. And then they greenlit it and then said, we're going to bring in a director. So that means all these people were probably approved in some sort of conjunction with Mahershala Ali. And now you got the director leaving and the script. Like,
it's not a good look.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be, honestly,
No, it's not a good look at
I don't
all.
want to throw out this bad juju, and I really hope that this doesn't happen. But if Mahershala Ali quit, I would not be surprised.
Oh, gee, don't
Oh,
even
yeah,
joke
don't
about
put-
that.
Can you
don't put that
imagine?
out there.
Can you imagine? He's
What I
turned
was
down
sort
other
of
jobs to do this.
what I was sort of hinting at earlier was the script being rewritten is what is so curious, because if the director leaves this late in the game, there's always the possibility, it could be a health issue, it could be a family issue, it could be like a personal issue that he's like, I can't commit to doing this film because I have personal issues.
Yeah, no, stuff like that happens.
But
yeah.
the rewriting the script is what is really like, this is
But this is the problem. But this is the problem with the studio system as it sits right now, and that was my point, is the fact that it's like, we're not letting the reins go at all and allowing like the creativity of the filmmaker to do the job that they're there to do. If you want certain things, like I said, certain things need to tie in certain levels of violence or like things like that. I get it. There's a certain, it's Disney at the end of the day. I don't know that they did what we were thinking they were going to do, which was have like some kind of like subcategory of Disney that could be like their darker stuff. That's what we hoped for. It didn't happen. And now I think because they didn't do that, we're left with this kind of like, okay, we've been, like Kelly just said, we've been making everything super light and super jokey for the last 2 years, and now we're going to introduce Blade. Like, how?
Well, there might, just to put a bow on this, like, I wonder if, just because the announcements came out that the director pieced out and then the script came out in that order, doesn't mean it happened in that order. Potentially, they were feeling like something wasn't working, and they were like, we got to go back to the writer's table, and maybe the director was like, no, like, I'm not sitting here for another year. Like, there could have been some of that at play, so who knows? Like, we'll probably never fully know what happened, but there's a possibility that, something wasn't clicking, and as a result of that, the director stepped away.
Let's talk about Disney and Marvel as we know and love them, and touch on this new trailer for Black Panther.
Yes.
Black Panther.
Coming to you this winter, Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Can you imagine? Listen, that was perfect. That was a Freudian slip because we were talking about them softening Disney softening everything down.
Yes.
Listen, we got word that Panthers are too scary now.
Anymore.
We're going Black Panther. They're a little more squishy. They're a little more friendly.
Yeah, she's not a vicious panther anymore. She's a cuddly, lovable panda.
Oh, Kelly, imagine they made her, instead of like, she doesn't get to take the Black Panther helm. She doesn't get that. She gets to be Black Panther.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh no.
Black Panther, Wakanda forever. Oh my God,
timing.
This trailer is freaking epic, man.
Yeah,
like this
great.
trailer is just like we touched on the first one a couple of times, so we've already talked about the emotion of not having Chadwick there and how the story, this is going to be like a really emotional movie from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In this trailer, we get a lot more Namor,
Yeah.
and we get a lot more of Atlantis,
It looks great.
and the pending war between Wakanda and Atlantis.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to get your take on is who is wearing the Black Panther suit at the end of... We've all speculated that it could be Nakia.
Mm-hmm.
This trailer really makes it seem like it's Shuri.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Shuri, or is it a misdirect? I think it is too.
Disney's also known for a misdirect here and there, though, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah, I just think
but again,
in the context of the story, like, let's put some of the issues that have happened with Letitia Wright aside. That is his sister in the context of the story. So, like, if there's somebody who's going to take up the mantle, like, that really does make the most sense and feels the most like natural. Authentic. that would
and
be
she's a
person.
fan favorite. That character's a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah.
And she's kind of like, in a sense, it's this sort of fun blend of Black Panther and Iron Man because of like her high level of intellect, like her ability to like she's the mastermind behind it all, right? Like she's
that's a great observation.
And so
Kelly, that's a great thing to touch on, because we do get our first look at, like, a very, very brief look of Dominique Thorne as Ironheart in this too.
Now, is it Iron Wars that they're now?
Ironheart is still going to be a show. Iron Wars, starring Don Cheadle, is now going to be a movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good.
Yes. So that'll be really good. There's not a whole lot more that needs to be said. This trailer is epic, it's just Marvel operating on all cylinders, and it's the Marvel that we know and love, and it's Marvel not trying to be frickin' Ally McBeal. It's
taking it seriously. There's absolutely going to be moments of levity. There's absolutely going to be moments that make you smile, and obviously with the whole Chadwick Boseman tribute of it all, it's going to be highly emotional, and it's got like the action that you would expect, and I'm hoping and I have every confidence that Ryan Coogler will deliver on this, that if you're putting a woman in the suit, that she's going to kick some ass and not go on a Tinder date.
I need to just jump in, Kelly. I need to correct myself there. Armor Wars, not Iron Wars. Yes.
I gotta be honest with you, Iron Wars sounds a little better.
Well, it'd be kind of weird to have a show called Iron Heart and then a movie called Iron Wars.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's fair.
So, yes.
Either way, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. And
it's going to star Don Cheadle. Anyways, go on, Brad.
I was just gonna say too, like, as far as what we were just complaining about for the first however long of this episode, this is exactly why people are complaining about this stuff as far as like the Disney Plus things go, and like certain movies and certain, because it's like, are you not seeing the fan reaction to these trailers? Not only this one, but the one previous. Like, everybody is on board. And it's not just because, yes, there is a level of anticipation for this, because obviously the world's hearts were shattered when Chadwick Boseman passed away. But just in general, you can just see that this feels like what they started with the MCU. And again, to Kelly's point, to your point, Rob, like, it's not that we're saying no comedy, no fun. The opposite. I'm saying have the fun in there. Just make it earned. And don't make it so silly, because you're just taking away from the overall end product at what we're, again, leading towards, which is another big showdown down the road. And there's got to be higher stakes and things like that. Like, don't sacrifice one for the other in either case. Don't make it overly serious. Don't make it overly funny. Find the balance of both. And, as of right now, though, like, just taking the trailers at face value and what we're seeing, this is what we want. This is what people want. It's so obvious because the reactions are through the roof. Like, I saw the trailer for the first time today, obviously, like everybody else. Rob, I think you sent the link to me via Instagram. I watched it. Couldn't help myself, had to make a comment on it, and I literally wrote, "This is the MCU that we all deserve." And it got like a few hundred likes within a couple minutes. And the reason is because everybody feels the same way. Mm-hmm. It's obvious. And so I'm just, again, to be positive, I'm so happy that this is clearly the direction they're going with the movie, that they're going to kind of circle the wagons a little bit, and they're going, let's get back to basics here.
Last thing that we have to touch on before we get out of here. Hugh Jackman will be returning as Wolverine in Deadpool 3. And it doesn't look like it's going to be just a cameo either.
No.
It looks like it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine movie, essentially.
Kind of a prequel type situation to Logan, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're not going to...
This is...
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is amazing. Honestly, though, I don't care. Like, even if they were like, this isn't, but this is the benefit of what they've done now with the multiverse is you don't necessarily have to worry about what happened in Logan. Like, there's also rumors going around that this movie will introduce the MCU's version of Wolverine.
That would be unbelievable.
So whoever that will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic, and you can't go wrong. And I feel like this was Ryan Reynolds, because we all know the epic bromance that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was just him phoning up his buddy and being like, well, I got to do Deadpool 3 and it's Marvel. And Hugh, you know, if you're a Hugh Jackman, we saw Patrick Stewart in Multiverse of Madness. And like, if you're a Hugh Jackman, you look at your career as Wolverine, which was undoubtedly the best part. Like, and not to take away from Pat Stewart or Sir Ian McKellen or any of the other good parts of that, but like, undoubtedly the most memorable character and storylines and beloved person in that 20th Century Fox X-Men world was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
So if you're him and you look back on your career as that character, you're like, I never got to be in the MCU.
I never got to put on the yellow suit.
I never got to put on the yellow suit.
And he will. Like, he absolutely will.
Oh, yeah.
I will say
God.
that if this, like, it's so funny because I sometimes feel like a bit of a hypocrite when we're talking about things like this. If it was anyone but these two, I might think this is like such a cheap stunt.
Money grab situation.
But I'm like, but it's like, I don't care. It's fun. And I also just know that like he's so incredible in that role that like it's gonna be good. Like there's something. There's a cheapness about it, but I truly don't care.
But you know what? I also think this is a great way to also introduce Deadpool into the MCU. Like, I just think that there's like because this character stands
really
alone. Yes.
Deadpool is going to be really interesting because we've spent the whole time talking about the Marvel way and how's it going to impact Blade and how's it going to like Deadpool. Those first two Deadpool movies are as vulgar as it gets.
Yes.
That is like Van Wilder in a Deadpool suit. Like that's what it is. It's Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan Reynolds
shtick.
Sexual toilet, all kind like that
which
style of comedy, which we're here for. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that Kevin Feige and Marvel / Disney are aware, like, we may have to, like, we can't water this down too much. But I think maybe bringing in Hugh is an attempt to try and water it down a little bit without trying to piss people off. Like, I don't know if you're going to get as many dick jokes in Deadpool 3 as you got in Deadpool 1 and 2.
No,
but see, this is why I was saying, and we touched on this earlier, like, I'm still shocked that Disney didn't make some sort of umbrella company situation for their darker...
They still might. That's
I just
still
don't
possible.
know, but where are they going to put it? And that's what I'm saying. Like, this movie's coming down the pike, and so is Blade eventually, I guess. And so my thing is just kind of like, where do you put this? If you're going to try to stick, even like, to me, the thing is like, there's only a certain amount of watering down you can do before it's not even the character anymore. So the thing is like, what is the level that you stop at? Because my thing is kind of like, even if you bring it down 25%, that's still pretty vulgar. And so my thing, and again, when I'm saying vulgar, I don't mean like for me. I mean for like the little kids that you have watching Disney Plus. It's kind of like, do you just have like a subcategory within Disney Plus?
Well, dude, they have the Marvel Knights comics, and like that's theoretically like, you know, with the Daredevil show being announced. There's all kinds of speculation that Johnny Bernthal is going to come back as the Punisher.
I hope so.
And like, I think, you know, like, I think it would be smart for them to create some sort of Marvel Knights, Midnight Suns, like type
I just don't
subcategory on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That's got all sort of parental warnings on it, et cetera, et cetera.
The way that
is just do that. Yeah.
The way that they, like, it was only a little tease. He's yet to show up in She-Hulk. I'm not sure if you guys are as caught up as I am. But it's like, I just don't see that happening with at least with what they're doing right now. It's like literally Daredevil's helmets in this like flamboyant costume shop.
I'm so
and they're
mad.
like, gotta deliver the helmet to Daredevil, and it's just like, what? Okay, all right.
We got to get out of here. So can I put a bow on this discussion?
Sure.
Talked a lot about Disney and Marvel specifically, and what works and what doesn't. And Kelly, you hit on earlier that there's been complaints from other people in the movie world about the Marvel formula and how played out the Marvel formula is. But you know what? With all due respect to these legendary directors who have been outspoken about Marvel, like Marty Scorsese and that sort of thing, we can all agree that that's sort of a curmudgeon-y take, and the Marvel formula works. And you have two of the highest grossing films of all time that are the Marvel formula, that you built using the Marvel formula. And this Wakanda Forever trailer drops today, and it's the Marvel formula, and everybody goes nuts, and it has like 20 million views on YouTube in 12 hours. Like, the Marvel formula isn't bad. If somebody in the movie industry wants to come out and have a wah about it, and like I said, with all due respect, it's just because they're upset that people are going to see these movies in theaters and not going to see theirs. That's just and to me that says more. We did a whole episode on this like a few months ago. That says more about the movie industry to me than it does about Marvel, and it's just
and listen.
Stop deviating too far away from the Marvel formula. Stop.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's also a case of showing like there's also room for both. Like keep doing what you're doing. You guys over there do what you're doing. You guys over there do what you're doing, and everybody just keep doing what they do. Because also, just like anything in this world, things go through fluctuations. So like right now, like 20, 30 years ago, you could barely get superhero movies made. Like Batman and Superman were like a huge deal that those even got made. And now it's like an absolute onslaught of them. And so now, and movies that were being made by other big directors and things like that were the toast of the town at that time. Well, things go up and down. Like, just do your thing. I still want a place for all of these movies, and I think that anybody that's outright complaining, like you said, about the Marvel movies or DC or whoever it is that's pumping out a superhero type thing, just stop. Just do what you're doing. They're going to get made, and they're going to see, like, because again, like we made this point about when Maverick did come out, and we were like, oh, it's a throwback, and it's like, yeah, and it's like one of the highest grossing movies of the year, if not the highest grossing movie of the year, at least to date. And so it's like, just everybody relax. Like they're gonna do what they do. They're gonna do what they do over there.
Give us the MCU we deserve, and the Hocus Pocus we deserve.
Yes.
Well, now they also said, like, they were so intense about the cast at the end. They were like, oh no, they're really dead this time. They can never ever come back. And it was like, oh cool. So this really was you just being like, we're moving on. Like, we're not doing that. You won't see Bette Midler back in this costume again because we're moving on with these 3 teens. Okay, cool. Anyways.
All right, guys. We got to get out of here. Good discussion today. Thank you so much, everyone, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. Make sure you do that on the audio version as well. Also, give us a follow on our social media. You'll find both those handles below. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.